Okay, what we wanted to do today is just kind of give you guys some information about who we are and how we've ended up um, working the ranch in the way that we have. So, start with a question about history. When did your family first get this property and start working livestock on it?
My grandfather, my dad's dad, he acquired the ranch in the 60s. Prior to that, it was owned by a family who were dairy people. They're still our neighbors today, that family. But it was in the 1960s that my grandpa acquired the ranch.
What kind of livestock farming kind of practices happened in the past that you know of?
So my family didn't do farming per se as far as planting a crop or uh, sowing anything. Granddad bought a herd of cattle. Uh, the best I remember from what my dad told me, it was Black Angus cattle that had been maybe crossed with some Holstein to give him some leg. And so that's what they started out with.
And that's pretty much what has been run.
Yeah, my dad always ran Black Angus. Over the years, they had some different bulls. Did some, there was Hereford bulls that I remember. There was maybe some limousine bulls because my dad had a good friend who had limousine cattle, so he tried some of those limousine bulls. And then in later years, dad always just had registered Black Angus bulls on a commercial cow herd.
Um, how did your grandfather and your father, what was the management like on the farm in the past? What would you say?
Well, when the ranch was first started, they started running cattle out here from the early days. It was a whole farm with no sections as far as road divisions or anything like that. In the 80s, the county put a section line through, which essentially divided the ranch in half, which changed the way it could be managed to a certain degree. I don't know a lot about my grandfather's management practices. I was 7, I think, when he passed away, but I know my dad's management. He didn't do ranching full time, and so he had things divided of what into he had smaller herds in different parts of the farm or ranch. And I know that because when I'd go help him feed, or when as a teenager, if he'd sent us to feed for him, he'd tell us how many head were in a certain place and how many sacks of cubes to give them. And so he had them subdivided that way across the property. And I don't know why he did it that way, but that's just how he did it. He may have had them separated by classes. He may have had some heifers in a place, or different breeding groups in certain areas, or I do not know the reason why he had them that way, but that's how he did it.
How would you classify the management practices today? How do they differ from the way it probably was done in the past?
So I run one single herd. It's not big anymore, but I run one single herd of cattle. I run them all together all the time, and I move them around the ranch. And so, um, Daddy didn't do it that way. I don't know why, but when he passed away, I put everything in one mob and started rotating intentionally to allow the greatest recovery period on every part of the ranch to maximize the recovery period.
So if you think back to when we started, because I don't think we had a mindset of this kind of management in the past. It wasn't something that we either one of us were familiar with. what really started us down the path of thinking, um, of doing things less conventionally or different?
Well, I remember kind of evolving through the mindset um, of coming from weeds are bad and you should spray them. And even at one point, we got each other a big, nice shaving sprayer for our anniversary one year, and we were going to start spraying this place and buy an herbicide and really clean this place up. And I remember this our own evolution of our philosophy of doing things changing from that. But that really kind of kicked in for me when I went to visit a friend of ours's ranching operation north of Seminole, up north of Cromwell even, and he had grass taller than me, which I'm not a tall person, but over 5 feet tall, and it was all kinds of grass. It was a diverse mixture of forbs and grasses and every kind of species imaginable. And he ran his cattle in a single mob and was using polywire and step-in posts and was intensively managing that his herd and had maximized his recovery period and was growing a whole lot more forage um, than I'd ever seen. And that really just see he let me go out with him one day. I rode around on the back of his four-wheeler while he helped him move the cows, and I thought, I can do this, and we need to be doing this.
I remember him talking about, um, profit, and because his inputs were basically nothing, he didn't feed, he didn't even hay because he could stockpile, and he was just talking about how his profits were so much better because he had little to no inputs. Um, I also remember, because we don't just run cattle today now. We have sheep, and, at least for the summer months, Bekah does at least usually about 2 batches of chicken a year. Um, and I think part of the transition was also, um, I was looking at maybe having to have back surgery, and the pain management doctor told me to watch some documentaries, and we watched some documentaries, and they were kind of talking about how unhealthy food was and how that unhealthy food played a part in, some of the problems that we inflammation predominantly. And that was about the time when we started thinking, I don't know if we want to spray, and I don't know if I want that stuff on me. Um, and then we started chickens, and we thought, chickens can do stuff for the soil, um, that we would have to pay to bring stuff in, but we can use another type of, animal on the farm to bring some of those positive things in. And then the sheep, I don't even remember how we got in the sheep, but actually, yeah, I do. It had to do with brush management, was probably one of our main reasons for that.
Yeah. So
So,
I've got a lot of stuff growing out here that cows they may eat it some of the time. This is Sericea lespedeza, and it's high up on the no-no list of stuff you don't want, but we have a lot of it, and sheep love it. The cows will eat it sometimes of the year. I have documented them eating it. It's young and tender right now, so they should like it, but once it gets woody and tall, they don't prefer it. But anyway, I've got a lot of stuff that a sheep can make a living on that the cows don't necessarily care about, and they eat differently, and so it's a good species to stack with cattle if you can pull it off.
so who would you say, or who did you read or watch that has really helped you along the way in figuring out rotational grazing, the style of management that you're doing? Who's been influential in that?
So our friend Jerry King, north of Cromwell, knows he doesn't live here now, but he gave me a Jim Garish book, Kicking the Hay Habit, um, and then he pointed me in direction of Greg Judy. I spent a lot of time watching Greg Judy on YouTube. In fact, Garrett started joking with me, said that Greg Judy was my boyfriend, and except he's old enough to be my dad. But I watched a lot of Greg Judy videos. Joel Salatin was influential. And then somehow I got on a mailing list, or I found out about a workshop in North Texas at Dixon Water Foundation, and was introduced to Holistic Management International, which set me off on a whole different track, and she's going to go out the gate.
Oh boy.
Right now.
Okay. Okay, holistic management. Where were we at?
So I got acquainted with Holistic Management International, and they were offering workshops within a reasonable driving distance for me at the Dixon Water Foundation uh, at the ranch there in North Texas. And they also offered scholarships, which was helpful for me because I'm just getting started and I don't have a level of income that just enables me to uh, invest. And so they were willing to invest in me before I could invest in me, for some of that stuff. And so I was able to go to a 5 or 6 day course, that they sponsored the kind of the tuition to go to that, and I paid for my meals and lodging, and really got a leg up to head down that path.
What has been the hardest thing moving to this kind of management?
Once our mindset shifted, so we had kind of an initial paradigm shift where we were willing to embrace some new ways of doing things. It's just been we've been in a pretty significant long-term drought in this area, in central Oklahoma. For 2021 we were in D4 drought. It's kind of ebbed and flowed. Um,
Come on, sister. Go on.
During the last few years, so we'll have some. So we've had some flash droughts. I think we're technically in D2 now. We were in D3, but we've gotten some rain. So I think that's just slowed progress. Had to destock, so I have lower cow numbers, so I'm not able to really graze as intensively as I would have liked. I just have to adapt, and implement things differently. So those have been challenges.
What's maybe one of the, well, probably there's more, but what are some positive things that you've already seen? And we're not where we want to be, but what are some things that you've already seen that
So I think there's more diversity on the ranch as far as species of grasses and forbs and things growing here. There's diversity and um, just wildlife. We see signs of things coming back. We'll see quail, we'll see turkey. We had a larger flock of turkeys show up on a game cam, and then I saw them myself, probably 30 to 40 turkey, which those kinds of populations haven't been seen in many years here. And I don't know if it's because of what I'm doing, but they wanted to be here, so I was happy to see them. Just the ability to grow more grass, being uh, stocked appropriately for the drought conditions, and finding different ways to have. So we have sheep, so that kind of takes up for not having as many cows. And I don't know, it's kind of a multifaceted approach to to meeting those goals that we have.
What would you say to somebody who's thinking about getting started into this and doesn't know what to do?
Start somewhere. Just start, and you're never going to know enough. You're never going to understand it all the way. You just have to start doing it. So that's my advice. Don't Just keep learning, and every day's learning. Make yourself available to learning experiences. Go to conferences, go to classes, take courses, get around people who are doing what you want to do, and start learning from them. There's a lot of people, even in Oklahoma. There are resources. There are people who are farming and ranching regeneratively and doing it, and have been doing it for decades. And I've found them to be entirely approachable and willing to share their experiences and knowledge, and been super helpful. So find those people.
All right, last question. What's the thing that you're looking forward to seeing happen on the farm? What's something that is like a milestone that you're looking forward to and excited about that?
Oh,
A good year of rain where we can stockpile.
yeah, I want to buy less hay, but that's you know not really. I can do my part, but if it doesn't rain at the right times, then that can be a challenge. So um, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question right now.
Okay. All right.
No bare ground.
Yeah.
So Garrett does our YouTube videos, and he's not as particular about where he chooses to shoot footage, and
Just keeping it real.
it's,
It is what it is.
he takes pictures and video in places I would never take pictures and video.
Some
But
of it is a lot better than others. Some of it has seemed
but it
to
is what it is,
respond
and
quicker.
beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So that's uh we got problems like everybody else, but
We're not putting lipstick on it.
nope,
It is what it is.
nope.
But the cows are looking really good.
Yeah, they're happy. I'm happy. I get to live this life. So I wake up every day and this is my office. And that's a good life.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll catch you later.